Alderman Burris.
Here.
Alderman Fisk.
Here.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Here.
Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Holmes.
Here.
9-0.
We have a quorum. Welcome to the Tuesday, April 10th meeting of the Evanston City Council. First item is Mayor proclamations and public announcements. This is National Library Week, and it's particularly appropriate because our new director of the library is here. So welcome. And it is also Youth Employment Month, April 2012. City Manager, do you have public announcements?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to ask Karen Lyons, our new library director, perhaps to come to the podium and say hello. As many of you know, Karen has served as the number 2 at the Chicago Public Library for many years. Prior to that, served as Mayor Daley's budget director for the city of Chicago. She'll be joining the city staff next Monday. I believe the library board has made an excellent choice in Karen. I think she's going to bring a lot, not only to the Evanston Public Library, but to the entire Evanston community. So she's here tonight on behalf of the Library Week coming up. And Karen, I want to say welcome, and please share a few words with us.
Good evening. Thank you. I really believe in the importance of democracy and citizen engagement, and so I really got a lesson on how Evanston does it during your township meeting. I look forward to hearing from the citizens about how we can work together to, in the present, to shape library service in the future. And I look forward to hearing about who we're serving and who you feel we're not serving, and really engage in discussions about the best way to expand service and to target it to the needs and in the areas where it can do the most good. I don't think one size fits all, and I think there's some really creative things we can do through technology and other ways of approaching library service to really broaden our footprint, but be very conscious of making it the best return on investment for all the citizens. And I thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to talking to all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That concludes my announcements.
Thank you, City Manager. City Clerk, do you have communications?
Madam Mayor, I don't have any communication, but I do have a presentation I'm going to do this evening. Godwin, can you show that for me, please? Okay. What I'm going to do this evening is just show you a slight presentation when I'm trying to get extra part-time help within the clerk's office. Okay. Doop. Okay, how's you change it there? Okay. As you look at this is just a graph of showing of some of the trends in the clerk's office of annual voter registration, how it looked in 2010, 2011, and 2012. And as you see, just as year to date, 2012, we only have 82 people who registered to vote. But there's going to be an increase in that as it gets closer to the November election for the presidential and the other offices at that time. Next one. This one is our total annual FOIA requests. As of 2009, we're at 337, 2010, 487, 527 in 2011, and as year-to-date, it's only 118, but that, since I made up these slides, we've had another 25 FOIA requests that come in, and it seems that we're getting almost like 10 to 20 FOIA requests per week. So this number should increasingly rise as the time goes on to the end of the year. Next slide. Our FOIA requests from January 1 through March 22nd. As you see, we reached 200 in 2012, 818 FOIA requests as of March 22nd. With this was a graph showing basically of the repeat FOIA requesters. It's increased some. Last year, there were quite many, quite a few of them that come in, but this year, there's not as many as this did in 2011, but I do believe that this will totally increase again because we do have repeat FOIAs that's coming in from 3 to 4 different requesters on a daily basis. Next. If we're looking at the annual notarization, since our office do a lot of notarizing because majority of the businesses around here now have stopped doing notarizations, so we get the notarizing in our office. We don't charge for the first copy, but $1 for any other pages after that. And as of today, this year is 242, but if we do a linear projection, that's going to increase very high in the year by the end of this year. These are real estate transfer tax declarations and requests that is coming in. As you see, it's 2012 right now. We've already reached 284 over top of the 2010 and 2011 projections. The additional internal tasks that we have here is quite numerous. I don't want to go through them all, but it should be in your packet as well. But you can see that they're not only just the ones we show, but also the various other tasks that go in the office on a daily basis. Some of the tasks, most of them are not new, but they have increased in their number and size, and it's basically caused an overflux of a determination, everything on the.
Excuse me, Clerk. Alderman Burris has a question.
Yeah, I want to go back to your. You don't have to go back to the slide, but just as I'm thinking about that you have the same people coming in over and over again, and that seems to be maybe a waste of taxpayer dollars. Can we post the people that are asking for the FOIA request? Since they're asking for transparency on our end, can we do the same to let people know who's asking for all these requests? It's a question more than anything. Because it seems like you're asking for additional funds, and a lot of that has to do with the FOIA request. So we should probably let people know what entities are coming in and asking and using all of those resources. And let's find a way to let the citizens know that this is happening. Thank you.
Alderman Fisk had a comment, too.
Yeah, I'm following up on Alderman Burris. When you say repeater, do you mean it's the same person coming in, or it's the same topic that different people are asking for?
It's the same person asking for various topics.
I see, okay.
They will ask for numerous things that they want information from the city. And it is from the person, not the topic itself.
Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and excuse me, Clerk Green, for interrupting your presentation. It's a question again about the FOIA requests, and if you'd like, answer at the end of your presentation. It doesn't matter. My question is, to what do you attribute the increase in the number of FOIA requests to your office? Is it because we had a change in the FOIA law a couple of years ago? Maybe that's produced a different kind of or an additional number of requests. So what do you attribute that? What's
Basically, because we are to be transparent, everybody's testing that transparency. And they want to see exactly what they're going to get, when they ask for it, how long it's going to take to get them, and then if it's not what they want, they will then repeat to do another FOIA that then ask for something else in a different form. But because we're being transparent, everyone is testing that right now and they're testing to the limit of making sure that they stay under the limit of becoming abusive. So they one may give five FOIAs this month, but then nothing for the next 2 months, so they don't fall in the abusive form of
I have no
request.
interest in undermining the rights of citizens to exercise their rights under the FOIA laws. And I'm very supportive of FOIA, both in practice and in theory, but we all have to understand that it comes with a cost to the governmental bodies, and it's just a cost that we need to accept, I think. And part of that cost has implications for your office. Yeah.
Alderman Rainey.
So, Clerk Green, what number of hours would you attribute to addressing FOIA requests a week, let's say?
Well, each FOIA takes, from the time we get it in either email, mailed in, or walked in, it's a 5-minute period from getting it stamped in, making sure they got what they want to ask for, then make an assignment to which department it goes to, doing a physical paper login, then log into the computer, then make sure that the people get it back on the right time. So if you put all that together, it's about 15 to 20 minutes per FOIA request. And if we've got, say, just 20 within that same week, 5 times that 20 will give you 100 hours or about 100 minutes per that week, I think. So it's a time-consuming thing, especially if there is different departments that have to answer to it, and you still got a 5-day working day period to get it back to them unless you get an extension.
So all FOIA requests come through the clerk's office?
Yes.
They don't go through legal or through whatever department?
All FOIA.
And what about when the FOIA request has been responded to by the department to which you've sent? Do they come back to you then?
Every FOIA request starts at the clerk's office and ends at the
And
clerk's
ends in the
office.
clerk's.
We do all of the answers. Once they answer it, we then contact the person and say, your FOIA request is in. The department does not send it out because then we don't know when they finished it or completed the FOIA.
Madam Mayor, I don't know if it's appropriate at this time, but I'd like to move to approve Clerk Green's request for
Second
a
it.
part-time person at the rate that he indicated.
Second motion.
Seems appropriate to me.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the clerk's request. Is any discussion? All in favor? Sorry, clerk, it's a money issue. Would you do a roll call vote?
Before we do that, I'm going to make one.
I didn't want to cut you off, but I want you to know that the additional work and effort entitles you, I think, to, I mean, in my opinion, to a part-time employee who hopefully you can divide the labor so that, that person isn't going to be scattered or you're not going to be scattered and people can focus.
That's good.
But I think it's important, as Alderman Grover said, that this does cost money to address these requests. And while we don't want to impede the requests, we need not to impede the other work of the office. So.
Just want to make one statement. In the memorandum that I sent out first, I do want to mention that there is a decrease in that total fund. Instead of 19.5, is on down to 17.5.
Excellent.
Because a person has to be has to be at least 37.5 hours and not the 25 that I had down. So I just want to make sure that you understood that.
Call for the vote.
Okay. It's been motioned and second to accept the proposal for the clerk's addition of a second deputy clerk. Are you ready for the question?
Yes.
Oh, you're supposed to be doing this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
But you need,
I'm sorry,
you
I
need to
gotta call
vote.
roll.
You've got to do a roll call, Ronnie. It's money.
Oh, he's so excited. He's going to get help.
Ronnie, I'm going to do it for you if you don't cool it.
Alderman Tindall.
Aye.
Alderman Grover.
Aye, thank you.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris. Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
9-0. Hallelujah.
9-0, the motion passes.
I thank you.
I believe that's the end of your
That's
report.
the end of my report, Madam Mayor.
I thought it would be. Did you have anything else?
That's all I have
All
for
right.
tonight. Madam
Next
Mayor.
item is citizen comment. First four speakers are Kevin O'Connor, Junad Risky, Ron Fleckman, and maybe Mike Vasilko. He left, okay, and not Mike Vasilko, Brenda Foster. If you'd come up and give your name and address.
Brenda left.
Brenda left too. All right. Please give your name and address, and you each have 3 minutes.
Kevin O'Connor, 1227 and a half Isabella. I'm certainly glad that the council voted to give our honorable city and township clerk some help before I came up here, because I will say this is one of the few things that we can agree on. Mary Morris, when she was city clerk, had 2 assistants, and the workload has only grown. I do take issue with kind of stringing out about the FOIAs. I do believe that transparency is in the eye of the beholder, and I would say that awards that have been given out or whatever, I think that there's still a strong feeling on behalf, on a certain percentage of the electorate, that transparency isn't quite what is being touted. That being said, I am very happy for the town clerk and deputy city and township clerk to be getting extra help. On tonight's agenda, A3.7, approval of purchase of 12 replacement vehicles, $650,000. We're bankrupt. I come by here every weekend and see all the new cars on the lot, and at the last few fiscal year budgets, it seems our maintenance costs never really go down, yet we continue to buy new vehicles. I would also like to say on agenda item 0.1, for giving, I think it doesn't show it unfortunately on the agenda, I think it's $63,000 for environmental remediation for the property just east of the police station. This business person received a chunk of money for window facades previously. The city staff recommended that the taxes would be greater in denying this request, but somehow, miraculously and amazingly, the Economic Development Committee voted to overturn that. So I find, once again, and if we are looking to fund a second position in the city clerk's office, there's $63,000 right there. Finally, when elected officials say that they listen to citizen comments, I find it hard to understand when a citizen informs an elected body about the seriousness of state statutes, one hears, quote, "I move we adjourn Citizen Tisdall." I don't think that this has any place in public discourse. I find that kind of a shot across the bow of the citizen that was kind enough to bring forth and courageous enough to bring forth their ideas. I think it's a cheap shot. Thank you.
First, I will speak to item A3.4, approval of financial support for ECM. ECTV moving to the service building. What is troubling here is apparently that city staff has made a mess of this issue. It appears the building does not meet ADA requirements, and the costs will probably go up. I suspect there may be other code problems. What interests me here really is who on staff came up with this scheme to move ECTV over there without doing the proper due diligence. ECTV appears now to be possibly on the brink of closing due to this. Maybe this was in the plan, I don't know. At the Rules Committee, council members talked about the issue. They can't respond. Frankly, I would like a response so I don't have to file a FOIA. Basically, is there any document showing that anybody did any code analysis or really looked into this building, given you have people that are supposedly qualified here to do these things? So, I can file a FOIA, but will the document appear? Probably not, because nobody did the work. This is what's troubling me about many of these things that make no sense. When something makes no sense, like selling the Art Center mansion on the lake, which is basically surrounded by public land, this will end up in all kinds of problems and a mess. It's really against the public interest. To me, the whole thing is a mess and probably will end up like the city of Chicago parking meters. Moving on, really, to this whole Trader Joe's thing, which seems to have disappeared from the agenda tonight. I'm really not against incentives to things like Trader Joe's, but I really want to know where the $2 million is going to come from. I am not very convinced we have such a large surplus here, given we raised taxes really 8% last year effectively. On top of that, the city raised the parking meter rates, so if we have such a slush fund in our parking, why are we raising parking meters? That's really sort of silly. And then the fact the fund's $2.5 million in the red. None of this, to me, points to that we have this money. And really, I think before the council goes ahead and approves this, they can go ahead and approve $2 million, but I'd like the council to really account for the parking fund and show us really where you're going to get the money in future years to fund the things through the parking fund. Because frankly, $2 million is a 5% property tax increase, and we had effectively an 8% property tax increase last year. And in my opinion is we will have another 8% or 10% property tax increase. So why is taking the money from the parking fund, if it's so flush, use the money to lower our taxes? And don't pretend it's a one-time expense deal like you always do, but why should the taxpayers continue to pay more and more in taxes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ron Fleckman, 1657 Church Street, and I'm here to talk about, I think it's A8, the aggregation plan, governance plan. I'm also the president of CGE, and I just want to let you know that we're in support of that plan 100%. In addition, we're supporting that the energy supplier be chosen based on supplying 100% renewable energy. And last but not least, I've come to a lot of these council meetings. I'm not sure I've seen two staff people be potentially responsible for saving the citizens of Evanston about $5 or $6 million a year, which is what this aggregation will end. I mean, if we figure 20,000 people join the group, savings of $25 a month, that's $500,000 a month of money that then goes somewhere else, either helps somebody pay their bills or whatever. The two people who've been primarily responsible for that, you guys had the wisdom to hire and put into positions to do that, Dave and Catherine, who have been amazing to work with just as a member of the public. But most importantly, you guys had the wisdom of going through the grief of putting this thing on a referendum, knowing or hoping that the citizens would support it. The citizens supported it to the tune of, 70+%. So congratulations to all of us. And the city in the next year should have another $6 million in its citizens' pockets to do whatever. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeff Smith, Sharon Eckersall, Pod Mareo, and BK Rao.
Thanks, Citizen Smith, 2724 Harrison. By a large majority, at the hearings I attended on aggregation, the citizen speakers who spoke favored the city of Evanston pursuing, if at all economically possible, 100% renewable sourcing for its energy. I was here at the last time the council discussed this, and Alderman Wilson had some insightful remarks about the nature of electricity generation, saying that we're not really buying electrons that are green. Well, it's true that all electrons are fungible, and the electrons that get fed into the grid come from many sources. But the impact of buying renewable energy is tangible. The electrons may be fungible, but the purchase is tangible. Without customers, renewable energy doesn't happen. Without power purchase agreements, wind farms and solar farms don't get built. So what Evanston's doing will have a real impact on the energy market of Illinois and the Midwest region. It'll help facilitate something that's growing jobs. I echo what Ron Fleckman said about the economic impact for the citizens of Evanston. Minimum, what you guys are going to do is going to save people $6 million. If it was 33,000 households at $280 a month, that would come closer to $9 million. Now, staff analysis indicates that the difference between 75% and 100% renewable, it's still going to be on the nature of maybe $9 million at the top end. So we can go to 100% renewable and still get 99% of the savings. I don't think anybody's going to begrudge that 1%. Think of it as a set aside for the planet. Mr. Stonebeck made a great point last time, saying he wants the bids to come in responsibly, and no one wants to say renewable and cost is no issue. But I have confidence that we can shape our requests so that we get both. In sum, this is an enormous opportunity for the city of Evanston. The legislature did the right thing by passing this bill. Staff did a great job and did the right thing by getting it to you guys quickly. You did the right thing in putting it on the ballot. The voters did the smart thing by approving it, and we can continue to do something that will make all of Evanston proud by pursuing 100% renewable sourcing for our aggregated electricity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Strobeck-Eckersall, to clear the records. I'm here on a lighter note tonight. I have season football tickets at Northwestern, which I cherish very dearly. And paying my bill this year, I happened to read it. And I only live 5 houses from the football stadium, so I never have to worry about parking. So I walk. Well, this year I read the bill. Seems to me there's something unbalanced here. You can park at the stadium for $140 in the adjacent lots. However, if you want to walk another 3+ blocks and pay $210, you can park on the golf course. Where is the money going for the golf course, since we've had so many problems with them paying the water bill? If you even take 100 cars times that, you have over $20,000 in income coming in. And there must be something very attractive. I guess I'm going to have to walk over there with my aldermen and check it out. I heard there's buffets and all kinds of things going on over there. But where's that money going, and why isn't the water bill being paid then? Thank you.
I've asked the city manager to answer your question.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Ms. Eckersall, there's an agreement between the golf course, the Evanston Wilmette Golf Course Association, and Northwestern. The issue of the golf course's finances are coming through the Human Services Committee, should be at the committee in May, back to the council sometime the latter part of next month. So we'll be able to give you more details at that point regarding the money that's being collected. I think Northwestern's taking a portion of it, but that is part of their financial statements, which will be at Human Services in May and to the council in a few weeks after that.
Thank you. Ms. Rao.
Padma Rao, 2246 Sherman. My comments were reviewed and approved by my attorney. Last time we made it clear that we don't want to be talked to by any of you or your agents, and that you should take your issues to our attorney and not to us. Yet your 7th Ward member accosted us in the hallway in a belligerent and bullying manner, despite our repeated requests that she address our attorney and not us. When we hired a competent attorney, why would we want ignorant opinions from the same public officials whose conduct we find utterly unacceptable? We condemn this council's vote at Kendall to sentence over 24 mature trees to death for no reason and to endanger pedestrians with an alley that dumps traffic onto the narrowest street. Last year, I gave this council 2 written briefs stating your legal obligation to enforce the city code, which mandates both tree protection and traffic safety. You never answered a single concern. Instead, you approved your 1st Ward member having closed-door meetings with the developer and excluding the public. The Evanston Patch reported that your 1st Ward member assured the developer's lawyer that your vote would be pushed through no matter what, and then you voted without mentioning a single taxpayer concern. Isn't that arrogant? The developer's lawyer stated in a letter that Holland & Knight was hired to sue the city, but you had paid and were still paying tens of thousands of tax dollars to the same firm. When we pointed out this conflict of interest, your mayor, your lawyer, and your 8th Ward member attacked us, and none of you protected the taxpayers' interests. Is it because your 1st Ward member's son works for the same firm? Does your loyalty to your 1st Ward member trump your duty to the taxpayers? Doesn't that conflict with the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion in Nevada Commission on Ethics versus Kerrigan? Your attempt to silence us by amending away our First Amendment rights was reported in the Evanston Review online. Do you think the taxpayers want to fund your unconstitutional acts that will end up on the losing end of civil rights litigation? Wouldn't it be less costly if you and your agents kept quiet instead of browbeating taxpayers? Your 8th Ward member proclaimed her animus against Veolia in the video for your August 8, 2011 ANPW meeting. How much will this evidence of your predisposition towards prejudice cost taxpayers in Veolia's lawsuit? The Daily Northwestern reported that your lawyer insisted on using a prank Twitter account as incontrovertible proof in your case against the CAG, even though experts say it's inadmissible hearsay that jeopardizes the city's case. How much will this blunder cost taxpayers? Instead of bullying taxpayers, shouldn't you restrain your colleagues and agents to avoid embarrassing the city and wasting tax dollars? If you're this irresponsible with the city's tax money, how can you be trusted with the township's general assistance funds intended for our most needy? If you want us to stop talking about your wrongdoing at Kendall, then undo it. Comply with the city code, which requires you to protect the trees and pedestrians. Don't make the city a laughingstock with your attacks on the First Amendment and open hostility towards taxpayers. See you all next time.
Thank you.
B. Rao, 2246 Sherman. My comments were approved by my attorney. A friend of mine told me that the elected ones and their appointed ones spent a considerable amount of time discussing how to stop me and my daughter from speaking at the citizens' comment. This is the sad state of this council. Have the members become so self-absorbed that they are desperately trying to amend the First Amendment? Your first ward member championed for the Kendall re-subdivision. That involves slaughtering more than 24 mature trees. Whether the council is oblivious to the fact that there is an environmental hazard in such a project or they really don't give a care is not known to me. But their hostile treatment of us in this issue is of great concern to me. How can they be so ignorant? How can they be so uncaring about the environment? If 24 trees in one block area don't matter to them, how can this be a tree city USA? Even more disturbing is, why was the double representation by Holland and Knight never brought to light? This law firm collected a lot of tax money representing the city and was also hired by the developer to sue the city. Why was this conflict of interest not questioned? Is it because your first ward member's son works there? When we asked these questions, why did your mayor, your lawyer, and your 8th ward member keep interrupting us? Your lawyer, who collects a 6-figure salary from the city, advised your mayor to use the so-called incontrovertible evidence against the keg, consisting of a prank Twitter account. The keg appealed because the so-called incontrovertible evidence was apparently inadmissible hearsay. Won't this cost the taxpayers lots of money and cause lots of embarrassment to the city? Question: is this or is this not a grave unprofessional mistake or outright malpractice? The taxpayers want to know. Is there anyone who should be more embarrassed than the woman from the 8th ward? She shows disrespect to citizens, but she demands respect from them. Her outbursts about anything or anyone she doesn't like are well known and well documented in the public record. Veolia became one of her victims and promptly filed suit against the city. Who is going to pay for her tantrums? Is this a wise use of tax dollars? How much wisdom is involved in your attempt to absorb the township on the pretext of reducing costs when you have such a bad track record? Finally, Miss Jane Grover of 7th Ward, we have no desire to be talked to by you or any of your colleagues or agents. Trying to lecture us to death and intimidate us is not going to work. Save the trees at Kendall. Save the trees at Kendall. That is much easier than trying to amend the First Amendment. Trying to amend the First Amendment? I shall return.
The last two speakers are Madeline Ducre and Albert Gibbs. It's okay, Madeline. We're not going anywhere.
I'm sorry. I thought I signed the wrong one. But anyway, I'll just say this because I need some clarification. Madeline Dupree, resident of Evanston. I don't understand about Trader's Joe. Some of the people in my neighborhood, in my area, my community, have been asking me, and I told them they should call the staff people or something, because as much as I like them thinking I know everything, I do not know everything. And that's not a big thing to you all, but it is to me because I don't. So this is why I'm here to ask this question, and maybe it can be clarified. Some people in the neighborhood wanted to know about Trader's Joe, that it's coming to Evanston, and $2 million are going to be spent there. And there was, I think someone told me that Trader's Joe, which is Bob King, wanted to bring a Trader's Joe to Evanston too, across from Ebenezer Church. So what happened to that, they want to know. Can someone answer that question? Did he get help, like Trader's Joe coming in now to the city? I think the people of Evanston should know. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Prey. Mr. King was in negotiations, I believe it was in 2008, with Trader Joe's. That project did not go forward, my understanding, because Mr. King was unable to fund the project. The city was prepared to provide a sales tax rebate for the project, so that a portion of the sales tax that was paid by Trader Joe's would come back to the developer as part of that project. That did not go forward. The $2 million that has been discussed, and we'll be back here hopefully on the 23rd of April to conclude those discussions, would be money from the city's parking fund to purchase land that would remain owned by the city of Evanston. So there's not money being given to anyone for this project. We are purchasing land that will be used for parking, and the city of Evanston will retain ownership of that land.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey.
I would not respond except Madeline. Madeline, I just want to respond because I had involvement with Trader Joe also. And I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter how much you incentivize Trader Joe's. If they don't want to be in the spot you want them to be in, they're not coming. I don't care if you build them a building, if you buy them a parking lot. If they decide that's not where they want to be, they will not be there. So we had several wonderful spots. They indicated they would never be in a neighborhood like that. So, quote unquote.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbs, did you want to comment?
I think I made the same mistake as Madeline. I thought that was the paper that signed.
It's perfectly okay. Thank you very much. Alderman Holmes.
I just want some clarification. Alderman Rainey, did I hear you say that they said that they would never be in a neighborhood like that? I didn't.
Over at, yes, they did.
Because I'm shocked.
2424 Oakton.
Right, I remember.
Back when it was being leveled and cleared, we tried to get them there. They came. They told Judy Aiello that day.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to that they said that on Emerson Street. I'm sorry.
They probably would have gone on Emerson Street, but they didn't want to be in my meeting.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to be clear about that, and I guess I wanted to make sure that I was hearing you correctly. And I think that that's a question and that maybe we have to look at in terms of when you say if they don't want to be there, that they're not going to come, and maybe in terms of we're certainly happy to have them here, but maybe there's some other ways to look at helping them. Maybe they can help themselves a little bit too with the parking.
They didn't get to where they are today by not doing
That concludes the citizen comment. Alderman Rainey, could we have the consent agenda?
I think Betty already read your.
You read it.
Ms. Giles, Ms. Esther read your comments.
Right, she read my comments. When I came, I was surprised to hear $63,000, and I'm wondering if it costs $63,000 to have a U-turn so that the physically challenged can come into Fleetwood, Georgia. I was finished, but that was what I heard this time. I can't think that it costs that much money. That was a surplus for something. Did I hear correctly?
I'm sorry, I don't know what.
I think that was a reference to an item that's later on the agenda from the Economic Development Committee that was unrelated to Fleetwood. It had nothing to do with the Fleetwood Center.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It had nothing to do with Fleetwood, and I was wondering why some of that money couldn't have been used to make accessible to physically challenged.
Thank you. I think that now concludes citizen comment. Alderman Rainey, could we have the consent agenda?
Yes, ma'am. First, we request that you approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 26th. Administration Public Works Committee met this evening and request you approve the Evanston payroll through the 25th of March in the amount of $2,467,405.58. Also, the City of Evanston bills through April 11 in the amount of $3,953,332.17. The City of Evanston credit cards are due through February 29 in the amount of $113,427.29. The committee requests your approval of the single-source purchase of VoIP surveillance monitoring cameras installation and configuration for the Levy Senior Center to current technologies in the total amount of $23,898.05. We ask your approval also to authorize the city manager to execute the 2012 Green Bay Road landscape maintenance contract with the low bidder, Christie Weber and Company, in the amount of $25,650.65. Please also support the authorization of the city manager to execute a contract for the 2012 motor fuel tax street resurfacing program with Chicagoland Paving in the amount of $1,109,900. Funding will be provided by the motor fuel tax funds. We ask your approval also to authorize the manager to provide $39,850 in financial assistance to Evanston Community Media Center for 5 months' rent expenses for the period January 2012 through May 2012. Funding will be provided by the city manager's contingency fund. In exchange for rental assistance, the city will deduct $39,850 in PEG fee revenues annually allocated to ECMC for city government access purposes. The City Council is requested to approve the 2012 fleet purchase. This is off the consent agenda. Next item is we ask your approval to purchase 6 replacement dump trucks for various departments in the amount of $749,320 from Prairie Archway International Trucks in the amount of $749,320. The Equipment Replacement Fund and Automotive Equipment Fund will provide let's see, how much is it? For $780,000. $760,000. Next is approval of a purchase of 12 replacement vehicles for various departments in the amount of $638,008.68 from Curry Motors in the amount of, well, I just said that, for 1 quarter and 3 quarter, is that 1 quarter or 3 quarter? 3 quarter and 1 ton vehicles. The Equipment Replacement Fund Automotive Equipment Account will fund this. Next, we ask your approval for a 1-year lease agreement with the Chicago Harley-Davidson, Inc. in the amount of $24,780 for the period of June 1, 2012 to May 31st for 7 leased Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Funding will be provided by the Equipment Replacement Fund. We ask your approval also to authorize the city manager to execute a local agency agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program Tree Replacement Project. The federal ITEP program in the amount of $36,000 and the city tree planting account in the amount of $9,000 for a total of $45,000. We ask your approval to authorize the city manager to certify and submit an Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, ITEP, application for the renovation of the Ladd Arboretum multi-use trail, ITEP in the amount of $580,000. The funding for the project will be $9,000 from the 2013 CIP, $13,000 from the fiscal year 2014 CIP, and $123,000 from the FY 2015 CIP. The total project allocation will be $725,000. This is for action. We ask your approval also to authorize the manager to certify and submit an Illinois Transportation Enhancement application for the Davis Street protected bike lanes and the Davis Street streetscape. Funding will be provided by ITEP in the amount of $776,000. Additional funding is included and will amount to $97,000 from the 2013 CIP, $97,000 from the FY 2014 CIP, for a total project allocation of $970,000. Next item is Ordinance 37012, authorizing an electricity aggregation program for the city of Evanston, which we discussed earlier. Madam Mayor, this will be introduced by me and later addressed by the committee chair. Next is Resolution 24R12. We ask your approval of this resolution, which approves the plan of operation and governance for the City of Evanston Electricity Aggregation Program. Next is Ordinance 23012. The Liquor Commissioner, let's see. Madam Mayor, we're going to take this off the agenda because evidently some adjustments have to be made, amendment has to be made.
All right.
And I think the city manager asked us to take this off. Just wait. Okay. That's A9. Next is A10. This item, A10, is removed from the consent agenda, will be addressed by the committee chair. Next is Ordinance 11012, which is for action, and it has to do with the adoption of the ordinance by which the City Council would amend Title VII, Chapter 15 of the City Code to enact a new section for alley paving improvements. The Administration and Public Works Committee approved a 50-50 funding split for the construction of both pervious and impervious alleys under the special assessment process. Next is A12, which is for action, and approval is requested, authorizing the paving of the alley north of Brummel, east of Richmond Avenue through the special assessment process. The special assessment funds will be paid for by the special assessment funds and homeowners to be collected over a period of 10 years. Funding for the city's share is $159,368.33. Next is A13. We ask your approval of this ordinance. The council would authorize the paving of the alley north of Brummel, east of Hartree Avenue through the special assessment process. Funds from homeowners to be collected over a period of 10 years. Funding for the city's share is $181,196.61 will be provided by the special assessment fund. Next, under Human Services, the Township Payroll and Bills for March 12, the Human Services Committee asks your approval in the amount of $106,360.72. Under Economic Development, Resolution 31R12, the Economic Development Committee recommends the City Council pass Resolution 31R12 and support the endorsement of the application of Ventura Realty to the Cook County Assessor for a Class C status designation for the environmental remediation of the property located at 145963 Elmwood Avenue in Evanston. Next, under appointments. For appointments to the Human Relations Commission, Sharon Bowie and Selena Green and Stephanie Murray. For the LAD Arboretum Committee, Barbara DeCoster. For the Mental Health Board, Jessica Wernick. For reappointment to the Plan Commission, Scott Peters. Preservation Commission, Gary Schumacher and Scott Alter. Under the Public Art, Jennifer McCartney and Amanda Wood. With that, Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Seeing no lights on for further discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Grover. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris. Aye. Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson. Aye. Alderman Holmes. 9-0.
9-0, the consent agenda has passed. Alderman Burris, would you give us Administration and Public Works?
Yes, the committee asks your approval of A 3.5, approval of the 2012 fleet purchasing plan, which includes the 2012 equipment replacement proposal in the amount of $2.4 million, the 2012 additional equipment replacement proposal in the amount of $1.1 million, and the 2013 equipment specification and bid plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone want to discuss that?
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Rainey.
I ask that this be removed from the agenda because I'm voting against it because I oppose the use of the general fund reserve of $500,000, which is part of the plan. It's not an expenditure, but it's part of the plan.
Thank you for the explanation.
Welcome.
City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Grover. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
No.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
8-1.
8-1, the motion passes.
A7, the committee asks for suspension of the rules to pass ordinance 37-0-12.
Second.
Is that you moving?
Second.
Moving suspension of the rules.
Sounded like a motion to me.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Grover. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
9-0.
9-0, the rules are suspended.
The committee asks your approval of ordinance 37-0-12, authorizing an electricity aggregation program for the city of Evanston.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve authorizing an electricity aggregation program for the city of Evanston. Seeing no lights on for discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Grover. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
9-0.
9-0, the motion passes.
Be my exercise.
Alderman Burris.
A9, the committee asks your approval of ordinance 23-0-12, increasing the number of Class B liquor licenses to permit issuance to Evanston Pub Incorporated, and the city manager will address this issue.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, just for the record to indicate that the local liquor commissioner held a liquor commission hearing last week. At that time, the principals of Evanston Pub, Inc. indicated that they are prepared to place a kitchen in the facility to be located at 1601 Sherman Avenue. That will then qualify them for the Class B liquor license. Those comments were made to the Liquor Commission. The Liquor Commissioner received additional documentation from the applicant with a menu, I think, proving to her satisfaction that they would indeed be complying with the requirements of the Class B liquor license. So, Madam Mayor, Madam Chair of the committee, just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
And the First Ward Alderman was there to approve all of this as well. She attended her first Liquor Commission hearing. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve, I've lost where it is, to approve A9, increasing the number of Class B liquor licenses to permit issuance to Evanston Pub Incorporated. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Holmes. 9-0.
9-0, the motion passes.
A10, the committee asked that this item, ordinance 32-0-12, that we continue it till the City Council meeting of April 23rd, 2012.
Thank you. Does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Alderman Burris. Alderman Holmes, you have taken care of all your agenda items. So I think we are at the call of the wards. Alderman Tindem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to remind residents that there'll be a 6th Ward meeting 1 week from tonight. That's Tuesday, April 17th at 7 p.m. It's at the Three Crowns Park, 2323 McDaniel, and it'll be in the first floor community meeting room. Hope we get a good attendance.
Thank you. Alderman Grover.
No report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Alderman Rainey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I wanted to thank Catherine and Dave for all their work. Everybody was mentioning them, and it is an amazing accomplishment in a very short period of time. So, Howard Business Association meeting is Thursday night at 7:30 at the Outpost, 633 Howard Street. Everybody's invited. And I have two requests. One is, can we get the status of the Kendall project? What happens over there? I have no idea. Can you give that to us, our staff? And also, in lieu of requesting a FOIA, I would like a copy of the tape that shows my tirade against Veolia. I've heard about it several weeks now, and since I'm a little older than many people here, I'm having trouble recalling it. So I think if I saw it, then I would know what people are talking about.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman Burris.
This Thursday at 7:45 at the Ridgeville Park District offices, there'll be a Ridgeville Park District meeting. Part of the meeting will be discussing Reba Park, so hopefully people will come out to that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Burris. Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, Alderman Rainey, I can fill you in on a couple of details on Kendall, and all of them are good.
What about Veolia?
I can't. I could make something up, but I don't think I'll do that. Cambridge Homes, the contract purchaser of the Kendall property, is moving forward both dealing with two contingencies on the site. One is the condition of the how the site was left from the demolition. The other one is the public process that they will have to go through to have their the 19 houses built, and they are going to the Preservation Commission. I believe it's on the 19th. Is there anybody here who knows that? Coming up this month to introduce themselves, but as of now they don't have any house plans. They have actually agreed to work with a local architect that they have not selected, who's familiar with our processes and also who is familiar with the Preservation Commission review process. And we had a meeting the other day with the immediate neighbors surrounding Kendall, who are the most impacted here at City Hall, and the developer came. 2 representatives came and met with them, Mr. Paul Ivers and Mr. Chris Lester. That was a very, very positive meeting, and we'll just have to see whether it proceeds to their satisfaction and they close on the property. They expect that the closing would be sometime this fall or winter, and that if that happens, then they will proceed with construction of the alleys first, and then a house. So that all of that is very good. And meanwhile, they have not made any application to the city, so it's all been basically conversation up to this point. The other good thing is that they are willing to abide by the agreement that we made with Smithfield Properties to remove some of the shrubs and even relocate some of the trees, if possible, on site. So that's also a good thing. Some of the shrubs were removed, I think, last week, and to be replanted in Evanston parks. So that's lovely, and has the support of the immediate neighbors. So as much as possible, the developer is staying in touch with the neighbors that surround, and also they're aware that there is going to be some changes at Royce-Moore, and they're good with that. So we're having really good conversations. And the other things, before I wasn't going to talk about that, but since you asked, I'll fill you in on that. I want to join with the rest of the council in welcoming Karen Lyons to the library. We're very excited about this, and I think she's going to be a great addition, and I think her financial background is going to be very, very welcome. And finally, I want to thank the mayor and Mr. Mavrakis. I know we've had a little bit of a rocky time here, but we've come up, I think, with a wonderful conclusion. The mayor did a great job of her internet sleuthing and put the question to Mr. Mavrakis, and he did a little bit of sleuthing himself and found out that, yes, indeed, a World of Beer does have a menu and that he could put in a kitchen. So everyone came out of that happy. Neighbors are happy. I think the surrounding restaurant owners are happy. So thank you for your patience and willingness to work through that one, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to remind the Second Ward residents that this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Joseph Hill Education Center, we'll host our April 2nd Ward meeting, where we'll be discussing the Evanston Plaza TIF, also the new ordinance to limit payday loan stores, as well as you have an opportunity to meet the new youth managers and hear about their plans for the summer. Thank you.
April 2nd, you said, Alderman Braithwaite?
No, this Thursday, April 12th. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Nguyen.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The mayor mentioned earlier that this is Youth Employment Month, and to that effect, next Thursday, April the 19th, at the 5th Ward meeting, we will have the youth staff there to talk about the summer. And also on the following Saturday, the 21st, is the mayor's summer youth.
Oh, thank you. I forgot. Thank you.
Fair. So kids will be here, I think, beginning at 8 o'clock. So all of the young people out there who need jobs, next Saturday, the 21st, show up at the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Dolores. Thank you very much. Alderman Wilson, do you have a motion?
I do. Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes, ILCS 120/2A, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel, real estate, and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, C5, C6, and C21.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Alderman Wilson.